Number 1. Peter I the Great was certainly the most messed up member of the Romanov family that ruled Russia from 1613 to 1885. He took the reins over from his sister Sophia when he was merely 17 and changed the face of Russia forever. After shipping off his then-wife to a convent, Peter married his court mistress Martha Skavronsky, who later changed her name to Catherine. Although Peter Romanov was known for his forgiving nature, he could not tolerate infidelity. When he caught wind of Catherine's affair with William Mons, Peter had him beheaded, then forced his wife to put his head in a jar of alcohol in the bedroom. It remained there until Peter's death in 1725. Number 2. Cannibal medicine, as primitive and gruesome as it may sound, was a shockingly common practice during the times, with nobody voicing their dissent over the ethics of the practice, although there were many physicians, chemists and gravediggers alike prospered in this business. Richard Sugg, the author of Mummies, Cannibals and Vampires, The History of Corpse Medicine from the Renaissance, says of this peculiar period in history, "The question was not, should you eat human flesh, but, what sort of flesh should you eat?" It began with crumbling Egyptian mummies into tincture form, which was used to stop all kinds of internal bleeding. Soon followed human skulls, which were taken in powdered form to cure headaches and mixed with chocolate to treat apoplexy. German doctors soaked bandages in human fat and used it for wrapping wounds, in addition to prescribing it as a remedy for gout. Blood was considered good for drinking, and best when consumed as fresh as possible. Although this practice seemingly was not all that widespread, the poor and destitute who could often not afford to go to the apothecary took maximum advantage of it. They gathered in hordes during public executions and were given a cup of blood from the condemned in return for a small amount of money. Number 3. After being pronounced unfit for duty in 1942, Josef Mengele was sent as a volunteer to Hitler's death camp Auschwitz. The 21-month stay at the concentration camp earned him the nickname, the Angel of Death, owing to the fact that he was the brain behind nearly all of the atrocities that took place at Auschwitz. Mengele was the primary provider of gas chambers for the camp. When he received news that an entire block was infected with lice, he proceeded to gas all the 750 women who were assigned to it. Children and twins, in particular, held a twisted fascination for Mengele. He routinely conducted horrifying experiments on identical twins, bleeding them to death, injecting chloroform into the hearts and even sewing a pair together to create Siamese twins. The full extent of Mengele's experiments will never be known, as they were conducted in strict secrecy. The reports that were shipped to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in 2 trucks were destroyed, and those that Mengele took with him to South America were never found. Number 4. John C. Lilly, the neuroscientist who was overseeing the research, never anticipated that Peter the Dolphin would become romantically attached to his assistant Margaret Howe. Studies in the area of language and development were gaining massive traction, which was all the impetus Lilly needed to test out his bizarre hypothesis. Margaret played, talked, trained, and even slept with Peter on a saltwater bed so she could have maximum interaction with the dolphin. Peter learned fast, and in no time began wooing Margaret. He nibbled at her feet and legs and then acted out aggressively when she didn't respond to his advances. Peter hit Margaret's shins with his nose and flippers until they burst. Lilly was averse to sending Peter back to his colony for a mating session because he could risk undoing everything the dolphin had learned. So he stayed, and seemed to behave in a much more welcoming manner with Margaret after that. He resumed his courting behavior by baring his genitals to her, and somehow it worked. Margaret stroked his erection and the dolphin was more cooperative with his language lessons after that. Did we mention that Dr. Lilly lost funding for the research and his credibility after tripping on LSD with the dolphin and the team? Yeah. That happened. Thanks, and please do not subscribe.